Hey, what's up guys? Rev here. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has concluded its first weekend at the box office, and it's been a very big success, and a lot of people are really excited about this film. And of course, when the product of a fandom goes viral, so too does the ridiculous takes surrounding it. So there are probably a few dozen viral tweets like the one you're looking at now, who are claiming that the character Gwen Stacy is transgender. Now, they base this off of probably 2 frames from the recent film, and mostly, well, you guessed it, their headcanon. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to select this thread in particular because I think it is the best example out there. I mean, look at it. It's got, oh my god, 90,000 likes on this thread. And the reason I choose this one is also because it basically grabs all the talking points people are using to claim that Gwen Stacy is trans, and it puts it all in one spot. So also, as a reward for listening to me dissect these points, I will also share at the end of the video this original poster's complete public meltdown the second they were ever questioned on their beliefs and headcanon. So let's begin with the first argument here that points to specific images and frames from the last film that prove Gwen Stacy is trans. This first one might be hard to see, but in her room, she has a flag that says, "Protect trans kids." And then the other evidence, which is a little more shaky, is what some people claim is a trans flag on the sleeve of her father's police uniform. Now, I say that one's a little bit suspect because in other frames, the color palette here looks different, but for the sake of argument, let's just say that it is a trans flag on his sleeve. What does this prove? Apparently, to these users, this proves that Gwen Stacy is trans. Fellas, does supporting trans people make you trans as well? That is the logic they are going with here. I mean, all this really shows is that Gwen and possibly her father are trans allies. It doesn't make them trans. That's such a weird string of logic. That's basically saying if I went online and ordered a trans rights button or something, all of a sudden I must be trans too. Like, that's a very strange string of logic there. But here's another thing that a lot of people have been bringing up. The colors are the trans flag, and they're pointing out not just scenery, but also some of the color palettes of her hair in her room and things like that. Which, number one, I find the whole concept of a sexuality or a gender or religion or any sort of group owning a color palette to be very strange, but they're using this to justify that, well, she must be trans based on these color schemes. While other users have attempted to make that same claim that, well, based on her design, she must be trans. Well, if you apply that logic to the other uniforms from other characters in that franchise, you get a probably unsavory result. And if you want to use it for Gwen Stacy, you got to use it for everyone. And I guess it doesn't turn out too well, now does it? But moving on to the next argument people are making, it has to do with her whole arc being a trans allegory. Now, of course, a story about Gwen discovering and accepting who she is probably very relatable to transgender people. But guess what? That narrative is relatable to everyone. Everyone goes through some portion of their life learning how to accept something about themselves. That is a very human story and narrative, okay? That is not something that any individual group owns, okay? Again, it's just like the whole concept of the color schemes. It's very odd for anyone to claim that a certain narrative belongs to any group. And I find that to be very unconvincing. And then this whole thing about her white cop dad, you can probably understand this is a lot of coping and seething about other issues, and it's just not important for the whole Gwen Stacy trans arc that we're talking about today. But this user would continue to double down, and they would do what many people do when they have a tweet that goes viral. They start getting cocky, they start rubbing their opinion in people's faces, and of course, their egos are very fragile despite what they might try to impress upon you. But they go on to say, by the way, I'm cool with shoving trans, queer, and people of color characters down y'all's throats. If you don't like it, you have bad taste, and someone has to give you something with effing flavor. Can't just have salt on everything. White savior complex much? Like, yeah, don't worry, trans people, I'm saving you with this interpretation of this character. And also, I'm going to use black people as a shield to deflect any criticism. I am a hero in this situation. Yeah, I'm sure people like you lumping them into an argument they want no part of. So you have quote retweets to that, like this one saying, gee, thanks for making us your shield and spear because you hate your dad, white savior. That's totally not going to have an adverse effect on those of us who are creating well-written characters who are gay and minorities. And that's the exact point we have been raising on this channel for weeks, if not months now, with everyone trying to take existing characters and change their race or their sexuality or their gender. It's just not that helpful. If you want proper representation, go create original characters who are gay or minorities or trans or whatever. Just go out there and make original characters. That is real representation. And the thing is, if people doubt that's possible, we just saw a tweet with 100,000 likes almost saying that a character is trans with virtually no evidence. There is support for these types of original characters, and I am like losing my mind that illustrators and writers out there aren't taking advantage of this to produce more trans characters. I think there is a need for more trans characters. It'd be a good thing. It would make a lot of people very happy. But make original ones. You want the best representation? Make an original one. Don't just try to force that identity onto characters when it's really not accurate. But moving on, the doubling down would continue. I mean, notice the smug attitude here. So someone says, stop forcing this agenda. And the original poster responds with, nah, I'm going to force it even harder now, just for you, with a kissy face emoji. Yeah, that attitude won't last very long. I will tell you that. So they go on to say to quote retweet their own tweet because they're noticing they're getting a lot of backlash. They say, y'all know, like, this is my opinion and interpretation of the storyline, right? Some of you are wildly taking my interpretation as some sort of a personal attack, and it's effing sad. Who the F cares if her comic lore doesn't depict this? Touch some grass. Yes, this user is telling you to touch grass. Besides the fact they're saying, well, maybe there's no evidence to support my claim, but it's my claim and you shouldn't be able to protest that in any way. And if you do, you're angry. You need to touch grass, loser. That's basically what they're saying. But let's move on to some more responses. So this user right here is bringing up the fact that the original poster is getting very hostile towards people disagreeing with them. In fact, they went as far as to call other people ugly and saying that they should have been aborted in some deleted tweets. But this user says, what do you gain from insulting me right now? I am not excusing the people who said slurs to you, nor excusing people harassing you. But you are going about this being toxic to people and talking stuff to everyone who even kindly disagrees, which isn't acceptable by any means. And they respond with, no, I haven't. There have been plenty of people I've disagreed with, and I have said nothing negative to them. This person you cited called me delusional. That implies I'm mentally ill. That's not some kind of a disagreement. The fact that you side with that stuff shows me you're trash. What I gain from this is simple. You're bothered, and that's enough for me. You can lie to me and say you're not bothered, but I know your type. You're a basic bitch who has no real struggles in their life, and you're trying to be a moral high ground on social media? It's sad. Yeah, imagine the person talking about no real struggles in their life while they're having a multi-day breakdown over a 15-year-old fictional character not being trans, and they're trying to force that identity onto that character. Talking about no real struggles. Yeah, you know, getting validation from angering people online is not exactly the reflection of a well-adjusted person. Also, keep in mind this whole thing about never responding negatively to people who politely disagree. Yeah, that's not going to last very long. So here's one of the responses to someone politely disagreeing. It says, the writers strive to develop a strong, organic female character, and users who didn't read the comics focus on 2 frames early in their work. Amazing what the future holds. And they respond with, you are ugly. Yeah, that's sick burn. That really got them. But they like that term apparently because they'll use it some more in other tweets we're going to look at. This user saying, it's just unfortunate that when someone has kindly disagreed with you, you call them ugly. You're one of those types of trans people I do not support. And I have many lovely trans friends. Do better. People have opinions. I mean, this reflects directly back to what the original poster said only a couple tweets ago, saying that they would never respond negatively to someone politely disagreeing. Well, here's their response to this user saying, LOL, I'm glad your allyship is conditional on me being polite. You're effing ugly. You just think you're a good person, but you're not. First of all, you're not your minor grammatical error, you lose. But moving on, they address this whole ugly thing where they keep calling people ugly, and people are obviously pointing that out as a low blow and childish insult, where they respond, me responding with you're ugly to people who insulted me, my intelligence or sent me death threats is too much. Gods, I wish every entitled centrist would get kicked in their head so their brains could finally jumpstart after years of rot and decay. Yes, physical violence, threats of physical violence. The second someone calls out your warrantless opinion on social media, that seems well adjusted. But they have an explanation for all this stuff. Don't worry, it's okay, guys. Lots of people want to call me mentally ill, like it's some sort of gotcha. I am, it's called living in late stage capitalism. This is the most terminally online statement I have ever seen in my life. But I guess if there's one positive here, this whole concept here is the reason I can monetize making fun of weirdos like this online. But nonetheless, the whole hysteria involving this character, it's just too much. Okay, I mean, here you have someone on a very large account saying, I love Spider-Verse, and I'm just learning now that they basically all but say Gwen Stacy is trans. Even if she's not, she's a hell of an ally with a protect trans kids flag over her door. We're talking about a fictional character, and you're like praising them for being an ally. It's a 15-year-old fictional character that doesn't exist. If you need validation from that, wow. I don't know what else to say. It's just kind of sad, but that's going to do it for this video. Yeah, lots of discussion about this whole thing, and I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below. Crazy times we live in, but what else can we do but point and laugh at it? So, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.